So, if you were going to give your staff some cybersecurity advice, where would you start?
Well, I think one of the first ones I'd look at is be careful what you click on in your email. I know phishing emails and dodgy emails are very hard to detect nowadays, but I'd be careful what you click on. Be wary of connecting to accounts outside and getting free things coming in and asking to log on to Google with your password and things like that. So be careful what you click on.
Because I have noticed they are getting better and they are really, really difficult to tell. I mean, you get some, they look obviously like they're phishing, but some of them make an effort and you just can't tell them apart.
Well, no, even some of the best people get caught out nowadays. So you shouldn't really totally blame the employees because most people do get caught out once or twice in their lifetime about it. But again, should be wary because a lot of security incidents do happen through email usually as a point, and then various.
Well, it's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? That is the first port of call. If you've got 1,000 employees, that's 1,000 opportunities to get your malware into the company. So that's where you're going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, but can you think of any other ways?
Well, there are, but they're incredibly complicated. So, as I said, it is that low-hanging fruit, isn't it?
Yeah, totally agree with that one. Just be careful with your email, I suppose, is the major one.
And then it's when, I don't get this, but when staff decide for whatever reason to use their personal email addresses, and of course, we don't know what security is on them.
Yeah.
So how do you stop them from doing that? Because you can get work email from anywhere in the world now.
I don't know. I think it's an idea one is be careful what's leaving your organisation. It's very unusual, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Usually they're sending it to their personal one because something's wrong with their work laptop or the computer and they want to get things done. While they know it shouldn't be done, it's it's kind of it's not malicious. It's just idiotic really.
Yeah. So everybody in the industry seems to talk these days about teaching their own staff about cybersecurity at home because then it will seep into the company. Do you agree with that? Because I'm not always so sure.
I don't know. I suppose why at home? Why not in the office? Is it because of just remote working?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I think you should have security awareness anywhere. I suppose there's lots of things now we can have it. You can do training anywhere in the world, so it probably doesn't really matter where they do it. I suppose whether it's remote on the road or whether it's in the office. One-to-one training definitely.
Do you think passwords are still as important now, considering you've got MFA turned on almost everywhere?
Well, I don't know. People nowadays are saying passwords are outdated and useless, but I think they're still fairly relevant nowadays. I think in conjunction with MFA, it's really good. Password by itself, remote access is a good example. Remote access definitely needs to MFA. In the office, in a secure environment, probably less so. But people say we're heading towards a passwordless society. I don't know if we are or not.
I've been waiting for that for years. It still hasn't shown up.
Yeah, I know, that's society for you.
So, so if I said to you, right, social engineering, what does that mean to you?
You go down the pub and get a free pint.
How do you get the free pint?
Well, it's easy. I think with social engineering in that way, it's pretending to be someone or something that you want in order to get something from someone that they wouldn't normally give you.
So are you saying that I've socially engineered pretty much every single one of my suppliers?
Yes, and when I'm down the pub, definitely.
Fantastic. I'm a very good social engineer then.
Well, no, but you could be better. There's other things you could do to improve.
How?
Well, you could, wear lipstick, maybe a different moustache,
right?
Funky wig.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you could talk in a high-pitched voice.
But I do all that.
In private, possibly.
Yes, always in private, or mainly for OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, that's good,
Yeah.
OnlyFans down the pub.
So how often do you rehearse cyber incidents where you are?
Well, I think it's probably good practice to at least once a year. I think depending on how your business is, but once a year is fairly good because things quite change in the business in once a year. People move, people leave, got new joiners, new telephone contacts. So I think once a year is really good to just test the plan out. Great believer that test is better than just waiting for bad things to happen.
Yeah. Okay, but do you not think once a year, that doesn't sound like an awful lot? And there are so many different scenarios that you could come up with. So.
Yeah, it might not seem a lot, but to be honest with you, the business has got a lot of things to do than rehearse incidents every 3 months. Usually is do what's good for the business, and usually good is just at least once a year. You might have to do two a year. Yeah. It depends on the business's heartbeat, how it fancies doing them one. So once a year is good, more is better, but you don't want to get fatigued by doing instant responses and taking away from the job every single 3 months, do you really?
Yeah. Okay. And do you think that when you do your rehearsals, you tend to just involve sort of technology? Do you ever involve the rest of the business?
Well, I think you've got two ones there. You're talking about incident management, you've got crisis management. Incident management's probably the more technical one, as you know. Crisis management is to do with, PR, the CEO. You might want to get both involved depending on the size of the company, and probably if it is worthwhile. But sometimes you might have one incident response, and then every year or every 2 years have a crisis management response. I don't think it needs changing every single time. It's often a crisis happens. Incidents happen quite often.
Yeah.
Crisis is maybe not as easy.
Okay, so you've got an incident going on, right? How do you communicate to the rest of the business, and what do you tell them?
Well, I run around with my hands in the air going, whoa!
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's the best
And then
way.
after that?
After that way, I sit down, take the sweat off my brow and go, I need to call Brian.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't even work for you.
I know.
Oh, okay. You have an incident, right? What do you tell the rest of the company? Because they're obviously going to know something's going on, and you might have to shut your systems down.
Again, in that case, then I think communications is the key, but it's communicating the right message. Depending on the size of the organisation, and a small to medium ones, you can probably say a bit more. A larger organisation, it's probably going to get leaked out. So, but first of all, is only communicate what the facts and what you understand. Don't start making guesswork of what it is or what's happened, and just let them know how it's impact on their day. Really, and what they can do to work around it. But morally, give them confidence that it's being managed correctly and that you are doing something around it. They'll get a lot more safety in that one, that it's been managed and if you dealt with, then getting no message whatsoever. But make sure your message is correct and make sure that it has the facts in there. There's many times that you'll send a message out that's completely opposite, of what it should be.
And do you think it would save time if you had like template comms ready to go that you can just fill in the blanks and send out, or would you want to wait until the actual incident and then work with the comms team to think them up?
That's an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you should have a template, really. I mean, it doesn't have to have you don't have to have a template for every single possible scenario, but I think if you've just got some basics, and you should have some templates for what are you going to tell your staff, what are you going to tell your suppliers, and what are you going to tell the public should you need to. But it saves an awful lot of time. If you're in the middle of an incident, you don't want to be wasting time spending 30, 40 minutes chatting with somebody about what should we say, what shouldn't we say. It should be pretty agreed, really.
That's true. How often should you update the templates?
Well, as often as is necessary. You should at least review them on a 6 monthly basis.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like you said, things change within the business, and you've got to review this stuff. Otherwise, when you come to use it, it's just bang out of date, and there's no point.
Irrelevant.
Exactly.
Like, because what does practice look like in your eyes? What's good? You can tell the PPT or.
Good question. For me, it's consistency. I think you've got to make sure that you've got repeatable processes that the staff know about. Because it's if they want to do something right and they don't know where to begin, chances are they're just going to go off and do it themselves.
Or cut corners, or do something completely different, or make cuts when they should be following a really good process.
Yeah.
When would the process not work? Or is there, there must be times that they.
The problem with it doesn't always fit every single scenario. So you've got to have perhaps an opportunity where there can be exceptions or slight differences. But it's a baseline, isn't it? It's by and large, this is how we're going to do it. But if for whatever reason that doesn't work, then you can come and talk to us. At least that way we then know, and we could add it to the risk register, or we can tell you of a safe way to do it.
Yeah.
Problem is that people think off of their own backs, oh, I know what I'm going to do, and off they go, and they don't think about security. And then we find out about it too late.
Well, I think you're right though. I think some people got the road hell is paved with good intentions. They make a new process thinking they've got a better process, but they only see a small picture. They don't see the bigger picture of that one, and they'll make a change which will then cascade down somewhere else, which kind of goes to the next one. Technology. It's useful for security, but it's also a bit of a crux at the same time with patching and things going wrong and things falling over. Technology is obviously a good thing, but how much technology do you need for good security? What's that look like? Do you need a lot of tech, less tech? It's 50-50?
Well, it's always going to be different depending on what company you're in. You need enough. You don't need too much. You don't need to chuck loads and loads of money at buying every single solution that you've seen at some exhibition somewhere. But you need the right stuff to be doing it. And obviously, the type of technology you're going to use is going to be different depending on whether or not your data is on premise or whether it's in the cloud, or whether your staff are working remotely or they're working from the office. So you've got to be flexible. And the important thing is to review that technology on a regular basis, so maybe every 1 or 2 years. Don't think that you can continually sweat these things because it's going to save you money, because it's just going to cause you pain further down the line, and you're going to end up spending more money because you've got a bigger problem to fix.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think that sometimes people have enough technology, they're just not using it well enough.
Oh, no.
And they'll blame technology for not doing what it should be doing when really it's their fault for not understanding that one. But there is a point where they need to upgrade or buy, but they don't have to buy the latest whizzy bang flashing lights thing.
Yeah.
And also, I think to be careful not getting sell snake oil or the silver bullet of security. This will cure all your issues when in really it probably does, and it might do 50% if that way around. There could be a good mix around that one.
But people, they go in and they buy something because it does what they're looking for, but they never look at the additional functionality of what they could get out of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got this really expensive piece of tin doing this one thing. And in fact, you've probably got these security features that you just haven't turned on. And then suddenly you read about them somewhere and you think, oh, we need that security feature. And you go and buy another piece of tin or another software as a service that does that when you already had it anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying for tech is your walls are usually high enough at one point. Eventually you would have to bring the walls a bit higher, but technology, usually they're fairly high anyway. And it's not usually a technology issue that's caused the problem. It's usually something else.
And keep an eye on your config, because people set it and then they walk away. And it might have been absolutely great at the time, but 6 months down the line, it might need a refresh. There might be things in there that you need to change. And also when you do firmware updates and stuff like that, there might be additional functionality that you didn't know about that could do you some really good benefit.
It's also sexy when you say firmware.
I love your eyes.
I know, you're so beautiful.